Over the last 16 years of teaching the piano to over 150 people, one of the things I get asked about the most is rhythm. And every aspect of it. How do I count? Do I need to know subdivisions? How do I use the metronome? Do I use the metronome? What tempo should I play at? How do I establish an internal sense of the tempo for my own playing, especially when the metronome isn't there? So, let me be clear what this video is and what it's not. I will not get into the 3 to 5 hours of information that is everything you need to know about every rhythm in the history of music. I mean, obviously, a 10-15 minute video is not going to cover all that. However, I will get into what I consider to be the most practical ways of learning rhythm. Because while I can't cover every situation, I can teach you basically just one principle that helped me to learn everything I know now. So let's just dig right in. I'm going to make this grade school level, like first year, first piano lesson, or maybe second month of piano lessons. And before you go, well, I'm playing Chopin etudes and I'm a conservatory student and I'm going to click off, realize this, that I actually learned this while I was learning the Rite of Spring for solo piano, tremendously difficult piece, and it had all sorts of rhythms and mixed meter and polyrhythms in difficult situations. A 8-year-old or 9-year-old comes up to a master class right before I play and plays a really simple thing with mostly just quarter notes and half notes or some eighth notes. And I kind of was all pompous and, a kind of prideful teenager, and I thought, oh, there's nothing I can really learn from this person. I'll just kind of wait my turn and yawn until I get to come play some Stravinsky. And yet what the teacher addressed here is such the simple idea that I realized, holy cow, I can apply that even to this Stravinsky. So that's why I'm teaching it at a simple level, because it's going to apply to anyone, whether you just started piano or whether you're years in. It's really just this. So imagine I have a quarter note and a half note, just two different values. Let me first explain that in this situation, I'm going to use 2 clicks of the metronome to represent one half note. So click, click, release. Okay, and then according to that, it would be 1 click for a quarter note and a release. So play, off. Okay, so let's just do something simple. We're going to go quarter, quarter, half, quarter, quarter, half. Now, again, if you're advanced, you already know how to do this, but when you see how I solve this, you can actually apply it to the hardest situation. So let's play 2 E's and an F, then 2 G's and an F. Quarter, quarter, half, quarter, quarter, half. Now, the very beginning pianist might have some trouble learning the distinction between 2 quarters and a half. So they kind of just, even if you say short, short, long, and all sorts of things, and say this is 1 beat, 2 beats, it still doesn't always click. You might get something like this. Where it's like longer, but not the right amount of longer. Or you could also get where it's a little longer, but not a full 2 beats. And at the beginning, us piano teachers and more advanced players can go, that's not right, just hold it longer. But just hold it longer doesn't really solve the problem, because most students don't understand why it was wrong in the first place. So basically what you do to overcome this is you forget about holding things and having the right amount of beats and all that. All you do is you convert every single note in the piece you're playing to what if it was the fastest note. So in this example, the fastest note is quarters. So instead of 2 quarters and a half, we get to the half note and visually you just rethink of it as 2 quarter notes. It's no longer 1 half note. And so we change it in our practice to 2 Fs that are quarter notes instead of 1 F that's a half note, because that's the same amount of time. So we would just play then E, E, F, F, G, G, F, F, and that actually ends up taking the same amount of time. Now, some of you are going to go, but that doesn't teach you to hold it. But think of it this way, it kind of actually does. Because though I'm not physically holding it, I am staying on that note for the right amount of time now, and I'm hearing the beats even though in the long run, they won't be there. You have to learn to hear it internally before you can physically do it externally. Everything in piano playing starts in the ear and is demonstrated in your body once you can hear it internally. So the value of this is that it allows you to physically hear it out loud first. There's just a beat going on the whole time. So when you have a longer note, it's not actually longer. You're just holding it while that shorter beat is continuing on in your inner ear. So now we go to the real example. And because I just did it as two Fs, I'm going to keep hearing it this way. Dun, 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 dun. See, so now instead of a half note, I think it's just two quarters and I don't play the second one. And you see everything as related to the last moment, but all tied together through the same rhythm. So no matter how fast it is, no matter how slow it is, it always feels like the same tempo for the entire time. That's where you start. And then what you start to do in order to wean off of this process is instead of playing it twice, you simply sing it twice. And I actually did this a couple minutes ago. I just didn't explain that I was doing it. So instead of going E, E, F, F, when I hold the F, I'm going to sing F twice. Ha, ha. Or you could use any syllable. E, doesn't matter, right? So, or just say the letter name. F, 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 F. See, so now I'm still physically, in some way, through my mouth, feeling the rhythm, but I'm not letting my arms actually perceive that rhythm. So now I have effectively just taught myself. We've gone from playing every note at the rate of the fastest note. Then we've just graduated to playing it the correct way, but still saying it at the rate of the fastest note. Now you've started to kind of build it into your inner ear, and you can do the original. And now you can see how this can apply to anything, because everything in music is mathematically related. So any rhythm you have, it's like a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 proportion. And when you see those proportions, you just start going, oh, well, wait a minute, a quarter followed by 4/16 notes, that's just, the quarter is like it's 4/16. So let's say you have, then you just take the quarter and you play it 4 times. And it's completely smooth. And then you can hear that. What is this? Chopin Nocturne 20. I'm completely forgetting the left hand. But that's the idea. See, so you can really put this in, that's already an intermediate example. You could do it even in a very, very complex example that's full of polyrhythms and all sorts of other things by basically doing the same thing. Just take the fastest note, plug it into anything that's longer than that, and repeat that longer note the amount of times needed to then fix it. So a great example is the Beethoven Pathetique Sonata. Most people don't get that rhythm correct. And it's because they just think, long note, sit there, enjoy it, oh crap, I have to count, what do I do now? Instead, there's 2 things I do differently. I hear it before I even begin, the speed I want, but I also hear it as the subdivision. The fastest note we have here is that interchange. So I hear that change as going the whole time. So then it's like 8 clicks, if you will, per beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then it's a tie, 3 more. So 1, 2, 3. And all that's changed together. So you can either think 8 plus 3, or you can think 11 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. Or you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you have the relationship built in. See, so we're now in the upper range of the intermediate difficulty, approaching an advanced level situation. It works anywhere. So another reason why you should get my free piano guide if you haven't is because I actually have 2 pages dedicated specifically to rhythm in this guide. And it explains this method. It also shows all the rhythmic charts of 2, 3, and 4-to-1 proportions and how they even build into polyrhythms. So if you feel like today kind of like teased you to this idea and you want more, that's the place to go, and it doesn't cost you anything. So how do you actually then develop the internal beat? You obviously have to start working towards pulse and not just every note. So eventually, of course, you'll take this away. So let's go back to the Beethoven example. I thought of it as 8 plus 3 because we're thinking of the fastest note. Once you get that, though, you eventually will probably want to go 1 degree slower than that. Meaning, if I had the 30-second note, like this, like this, then I'm going to slow it down. Sorry, I'm going to keep the tempo the same, but now what I'm going to actually do is think of that as, instead of the 30-second note, it's the 16ths. So I was at 200 on the metronome. I go to 100, and now I'm just hearing every other click. So I'm weaning myself off of needing to hear every single one. And in my head, I have to supply twice as fast as that, but I'm only hearing every other one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In other words, my voice is twice as fast as the metronome now. And that's where the 2 to 1, 3 to 1, and 4 to 1 proportions come in. Now, we originally used the metronome to represent the 30-second note. Now we're using it for the 16th note. Next time we're going to go to 50, and now it is the 8th note. And I have to hear 4 clicks in my head for every one that I'm hearing out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Funny enough, all 3 of those were the same speed, because 200 for the 32nd, 100 for the 16th, 50 for the 8th. And yet, that one felt the slowest, simply because most of the activity is going on inside my head, not actually outside with the metronome reminder. So it's all training the same thing, but you gradually stop using the metronome to actually supply that, and you hear it internally. And that's the point. There's really no situation I've found where this strategy doesn't work. So what's the thing I mentioned about the subconscious? I grew up playing video games all the time. And I didn't actually start playing the piano until I was 12, but I realized years down the road, part of why I think I took off so fast is I had developed an ear for music in more ways than one without realizing it, because I used to play about 5 to 6 hours of video games per day. Don't judge. I don't do it anymore. But when I did that, I realized something, that actually a lot of those tunes are locked into a metronome, whether it's like, it's not an actual click, right? But they're like pop music in that sense, where they're recorded to a click and digitally produced, because I grew up on old school Nintendo. So it wasn't like free, Xbox and PlayStation and like the new stuff that's full orchestral and a little bit more loose. It was like that tight Super Mario. Like completely on a grid and a click. There was no rhythmic flexibility or anything. And so what I realized later is, as I did that, I think it branded in my ear this sense of the rigid beat that typically you wouldn't get in your upbringing if you're not listening to that kind of music all the time. Because I just listened to this by the hour for many years, I think what it did is give me a sense of rhythm without even realizing what it was. So my first piano lesson, I wasn't like getting all this stuff and counting perfectly. But as my teachers would explain it, I would go, yeah, that makes sense. And I would get it, and they'd be like, you're getting that pretty fast. And I think it's just simply because I had an ear for it already. So that's one of the most important things. Develop an ear for things. Should you listen to video game music for 5 hours a day? No. That's why I'm like, that's not really a strategy, but it is a reality. It's there whether you have it or not. So how you could leverage that? Maybe 1 or 2 things a day. Just listen with the conscious awareness of trying to hear where the beat is at. Most people can instinctively like hear something and clap, on the offbeat or something. If you can't, then that's fine. But just work on that ability to, it could be, for all I care, most pop music is going to be really tight and rigid. So Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, It could be this. as long as it's got like a really simple, maybe 4/4 beat, 3/4 in some situations, that's going to give you that tight rigidity. And if you can find that you can tap your foot, clap your hand, nod your head, or physically respond in some way to track along with that, you will find that your overall ability to just play to the longer line and the pulse gets better. Last but not least, I was at the Interlochen Center for the Arts Music Camp here in the US, and they did this thing called eurythmics, where we sat down in a circle, and basically eurythmics is just feeling music and rhythm in the body. So this was just one of hundreds of things you can do in eurythmics. But one of my favorite exercises is we had like 12 people in a circle, and they'd have a metronome going. And you just simply had to coordinate. You would grab it if the ball came to you on the beat, and then you'd put it in the other hand on the beat. So if you can imagine something like this, that is way too slow. You have here, here, there. And so you're waiting the whole time, and when it comes to you, you go catch, transfer, pass off. There's 3 things you have to do, 3 beats total. So catch, transfer, pass off. And it was so interesting how simple that sounds, and yet these were musicians. These were conservatory-trained top teenagers playing Bartok Sonata and crazy concertos and stuff you'd be like, I mean, that summer I was doing Prokofiev 7. And almost playing it that well. And yet I was having trouble with this freaking exercise. Like, why can't I catch it and pass it on time? And I think it's because most high-level ability is polished, not through these like unreachable, invisible skills, but actually just through mastery of the fundamental level. So you go to the simplest, bare bones ability of something, and you look at it, and the pros have those things down to the point where they literally cannot mess them up. Like they are so trained on those things. They probably couldn't get it wrong if they tried. And yet, when you listen to the people that sound like really good on the surface, but kind of feel like something's missing, you often go to that fundamental level and they have a little hole in their foundation. And this is one of them. So just the ability to physically feel a beat and keep it in time. You could do this on your own just by passing off if you don't have a friend to do this with. If you do, though, and if you have a whole group, amazing. If you can find an in-person eurythmics class, holy cow, do it. They're so rare. There's not that many eurythmics teachers anymore. It used to be way more popular, especially in American education. It's almost non-existent these days. I do it with my students in person, but like, what are you going to do? Fly to Portland? I mean, you can if you want, but that's the idea. So those are probably the 3 things: that simple rhythm ratio exercise, along with my piano guide. The idea of just like feeling and responding to pulses that are stable in real music and just listening as a regular habit. And then somehow feeling rhythm in the body other than just the fingertips. All sorts of things. Tapping, you could, throw it and try to time the catch with the beat. Like click, 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 and so on and so forth. Like you don't have to be a juggler and do 3 balls. You could just do one and kind of see how it works and try to keep the beat. So in any case, if this video helped you, let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time.